We continue our story with Jazz and Harley basically recruiting two of the newest members, both Firestorm and Blue Beetle. And well, it's kind of going smoothly right now. While yes, Jason Roosh and Jaime Reyes are a little bit apprehensive, they both do admittedly join the right side. Because I mean, they get to partner up with Batman. And so this is where Harley's like, so, want to go out? To which Jazz was kind of caught off guard, like, wait, what? We're being direct here. Oh, okay. I mean, I definitely wouldn't say no, but, now? Or, she's like, no, silly, not now. Obviously, we still have more recruiting to do, and, well, I don't know whatever happened to the other Titans, but I guess you'll be on for tonight, right? To which Jazz is like, heck yeah, I'll be down, as soon as we find the Titans. To which Harley's like, I don't know if we should really be including them. And Jazz is like, really? Why? Would Superman actually go that far? Killing teenagers? To which Harley says, well, it's not that simple anymore. To which Jazz is like, what do you mean it's not that simple? He's usually, I guess from what I've seen, he's never crossed that line so far when it comes to his kills. To which Harley's like, okay, so let me explain an event to you. And to which Jazz is like, I'm getting the fact that this may not be what I hope it means, right? To which Harley's like, well, sit down for this one. And keep in mind, they are kind of like still in the insurgency base and stuff like that. So, yeah, obviously they would be able to take a seat somewhere. So, Harley begins to explain one of the few nights that she went out with Batwoman to hopefully save some people who were, using their freedom to worship the Joker. To which Jazz is like, okay, I mean, not the best thing to use your freedom for, but I understand. Freedom of speech, free to do whatever you want. And this is where Harley simply explains that Superman found them, and well, he incinerated them, all of them, for worshiping and celebrating the Joker. She's like, yeah, unfortunately, and some of them weren't, adults. Some of them were teens, and maybe some younger. Looking at the files of some of them, someone they're barely over the age of 18. To which Jazz simply looks at her like, oh my god, this dude is... I'm not even sure how he stacks with Megatron. To which Harley is like, so Megatron was that bad? To which he was like, well, war crimes were one thing, or one thing in your world, and war crimes are basically a casual crime in my world. To which Harley's like, well, damn, okay then, well, you know what, we can discuss that over dinner tonight if you down. To which Jazz like, yeah, I'm down. I'll see you later. Let me go ahead and find these Titans. And so this is where Jazz pretty much goes to the Titan Tower. But before I really go on here, I want to ask y'all a question. Who do y'all think is worse? Prime or aligned Megatron, or Injustice Superman? Both of them have a justifiable way of becoming who they are. But who is the worst of the worst when it comes to their crimes? Let me know in the comment section down below. Now, continuing on with the story, we actually see Cyborg and Raven actually just looking around the tower and kind of reminiscing about the old days. And keep in mind, Cyborg cannot detect Jazz because he is Cybertronian tech. Jazz is, Jazz, while he's in this body, he is still Cybertronian. Okay? He's still, essentially like a pretender, or what's that one? What's the shape-shifting? It was a shape-shifting Cybertronian. Kind of like makeshift, but they're a specific species. And so this is where Jazz overhears Cyborg and Raven as they talk about the other Titans, how they went somewhere. This is where, they kind of do discuss that the Titans seemingly disappeared. Starfire, Red Robin, Superboy, Wonder Girl, all gone. And they don't even know where they went. Maybe they think it's for the best as well, as they probably would enjoy the surgency. And this is where they do recollect or reminisce about the bombing, how Connor lost not only Kid Flash but Beast Boy that day as well. And Raven talks about it in a more heartbreaking manner. How Garfield was her everything and how it broke her to see him die, or at least feel him die. And so Jazz is kind of like, dang, maybe if I get the Titans back, perhaps they could actually be the factor that changes it. And so this is where Jazz actually flees to the last known location of the Titans, actually utilizing, I guess you could say, I would probably say he's able to like track something down. Maybe the air currents of where Superboy last went and kind of just find him like that. And so this is where he sees Superboy's last known particle traces. That would actually be better, considering Cybertronians can track things down to like the subatomic level. Yeah, I know it's absolutely crazy what Cybertronians can do, but again, they are not, they're broken when it comes to certain things. So Jazz finds the essence of Superboy over the Phantom Zone projector. However, before he grabs it, he has to dodge a punch from Doomsday. Keep in mind, in the Injustice universe, Doomsday was basically Superman's guard dog when it came to the Fortress of Solitude. And knowing that this may mean he tripped the alarm, Jazz actually plays it smart and pretty much is like, yeah, I'm not fighting you directly. No. We're not doing that. So Jazz begins to bob, weave, strike. He hits the gut. He hits the side. He hits the face, the shins, the kneecaps. Good Lord, not the kneecaps. He hits the crotch, everything. This dude is making sure that Doomsday, doesn't hit him. And this is where Superman tries to blindside him, saying, "What are you doing here?" And actually tries to go in for a speed blitz punch. However, Jazz parries and then judo throws, or essentially judo slams him right into Doomsday, causing them both to bounce back. However, Doomsday, being the quicker or at least the more durable of the two to get up, actually just bum rushes and tries to elbow Jazz. However, Jazz is able to duck underneath and launches a boom burst, or basically a sonic blast, to actually knock Doomsday completely back. And then Superman tries to get up, but Jazz immediately blitzes this dude and straight up wails on him continuously, saying, "What happened to your sidekick? What happened to the boy who trusted you? What did you do to him, huh?" And he begins beating Superman, just trying to interrogate him about what happened to Connor. What happened to the Titans in general? Did you lock them in that device? Did you lock them in some type of other dimension? Is that what the Phantom Zone projector actually is? And keep in mind, Jazz does take a time to look and scan the Phantom Zone projector, which he never did before. But, yeah, he's able to scan and figure out what the Phantom Zone projector does. And he's like, "Oh, you dick. You did that to those kids? Oh, that's messed up." And keep in mind, if you're wondering how Jazz is able to handle this version of Doomsday, keep in mind Bane. No amp, no nothing. Just straight up Venom. Standard Venom was able to harm this Doomsday and restrain him. Yeah, I don't want to hear nothing here. But this is where Superman and Doomsday both begin to kind of like try and jump Jazz. And he sees a very good opportunity to actually utilize a full power sonic burst, which launches them both into space. And Superman's tore up. Like point blank Black Bolt type of sonic blast here. And this is where Jazz uses the Phantom Zone projector and actually sees the Titans. And Starfire's like, "Wait, who are you?" He's like, "Well, Miss Fine Shot, I am Jazz. I'm actually from another dimension. But as of right now, wait a minute. Huh?" And he's looking at Connor, and he sees that his heart is missing. But he also sees something, or sorry, not his heart is missing, his heart is damaged. But he also sees something else. And this is where he pushes Tim Drake out of the way, and, well, Zod's heat vision miss. And to which is like, "Dang, you're welcome." And Red Robin's like, "Oh my god, thank you. I mean, I wouldn't have died in the Phantom Zone per se, but if I got hit with that and I came back out, then there would have been no way I would have been able to, be alive after that." And so with the help of Red Robin, they're actually able to coordinate a better assault against General Zod and actually do put the brakes on him, or do put, the beats on him. But this is where, again, this is still General Zod, a Kryptonian, a Superman villain. However, when he turns his attention to Jazz and blisses him, Jazz jumps out the way and is like, wait, hold on a minute. Can we, like, talk for a minute? To which Zod looks at him like, what you mean we talking? I'm trying to run the fade. To which Jazz is like, wait. You hate Superman, right? To which Zod is like, yes. And Jazz is like, okay, good. So, I want you to use that supervision and look up there in space. To which Zod does, and he's like, wait, is that Superman? He's like, yeah. He's unconscious, courtesy of yours truly. But I bet you will actually want to take advantage of this right now, instead of just attacking us. To which Zod is like, you know what? You actually make a good point. Bye. And he just simply flies into space, and Jazz is like, whew. Okay, that actually worked. I ain't gonna lie. And so we actually do see in space that Superman does manage to recover, and he does see Doomsday unconscious, but he feels a presence behind him. And this is where Zod simply punches him and pummels him for a good bit. With Superman saying, wait, Zod, let me explain what's been happening over the past couple of years, right? And so this is where Red Robin's like, okay, now that he's out of the way, let's get out of here. However, one thing, the Phantom Zone is closed, and Connor's on the floor about to die. To which Jazz is like, all right, well, I guess he's going to have to perform surgery right here and now. And this is where Starfire is like, wait, what? How are you going to perform surgery without kryptonite? To which Jazz simply makes his finger into like a scalpel and is like, Cybertronian tech, so this shouldn't be too hard. And actually does, cut open Superboy. And Starfire's like, wait, do you even know how to exactly do this? To which Jazz is like, no, I actually don't. But I know someone who does. And this is where he taps basically the side of his head, and a hollow image of Ratchet appears. And this is where he actually does mention he did catalog his old friend's medical logs, and even downloaded a few just in case for a situation like this. So this is where Ratchet actually begins to talk about open spark surgery. And this is where Cassie's like, ain't we two different species? To which Jazz is like, look, y'all want him to get help or not? To which they're like, you know what? Fair point. Go ahead. So Jazz actually begins operating, basically following Ratchet's rules and just applying it to the human body. Considering if you guys do look inside of a Cybertronian, they are really not too different from us. Like, in terms of like how their body works and functions, they're not too different. However, this is where, as Jazz is finishing up, this is where all three of them hear a sonic boom. And yeah, Jazz says, hold on a minute, I'm almost done. To which this is where Superman is kind of torn between telling Zod and Doomsday to attack, but he sees that, well, Jazz is fixing Superboy's heart. And this is where Connor is now with his chest fully closed up and allowed to hear properly, simply states that you did that to me. You damaged my heart, and you were going to let me die if my friends didn't agree. To which Superman simply states it was for the greater good. However, he seems to stop prematurely. Connor glows red. His suit changes. And this is where he debuts his tactile telekinesis? To which this is where he states that he feels stronger for some reason. Feels better. His heart feels stronger, like it's activated something. And this is where he simply uses his tactile telekinesis to knock back Zod, Superman, and Doomsday. Excuse me, I almost said Jazz. And this is where Zod gets up first and is like, you will pay for that, you insignificant worms. To which Jazz is like, yeah, about that, we ain't gonna be paying nothing today, my brother. To which Zod is like, what do you mean? And this is where Jazz simply states, yeah, I could have done this the whole time, but kind of wanted to get this done and over with with style. So Jazz actually presses a button on his belt and teleports out of there. To which Zod is like, no. And it's just like, this dude could have just teleported everyone out of there. However, you might ask, why wouldn't Jazz have done that? And well, to be fair, I actually do think addressing Superboy's more heart issue would definitely be his main concern, considering he is able to scan everybody. And this is where even Cassie notes, so let me get this right. You could have just teleported us out of there and maybe done the heart surgery later, to which Jazz does admit any longer and Connor may have died. So this is where they do get back to base. And yeah, they're met by Batman. And Batman is angry while Jazz simply smiles. He's like, you reckless, you endangered everybody and jeopardized yourself. To which I was like, yeah, I know, but here's your son. And this is where Batman calms down and realizes that he sees Tim, like, really right there. And keep in mind, this is one of the few moments in Justice I really wanted to change. Like, it was just perfect. Because there's no reason Tim should have died. Batman's already been through enough as it is, losing all his friends, and even losing Nightwing to Damian on accident, and then losing Damian to the regime, and then Jason, you know, barely is around. Or isn't even around. Well, I guess I'll change that very soon. But this is where, you know, everyone is together. And Jazz does tell Batman that General Zod is now likely working with Superman. And Jazz is like, okay, in hindsight, it probably wasn't the smartest decision to actually, you know, give him an extra Kryptonian. But at the same time, I actually didn't really think that one through. Or at least I didn't think all of this through. But this is where Jazz simply goes and states that he's got a date to finish. Or at least a date to start. And this is where he goes and meets Harley. So, that's where we're going to leave it off here, everyone. How do you guys feel about General Zod being added to the story? How do you feel about Batman finally getting a break and having one of his most loving sons with him? And, well, the Titans are now a part of it a lot earlier than the original. But that's going to be all today, guys. Please comment down below, and I'll see you guys for the next part.